Okay, Harsiman, go ahead.
Yeah, so good morning and good evening for those on the joining us from the Pacific side. This whole respected Vaidi sir has joined us. This event is was conveyed by NITH mentorship program under alumni cell. The mentorship program was chaired with the help of Mr. Deepak Jain. He is the pass out from 94 batch of electronics engineering, and he's a great alumni who is working with us. And this whole has the whole event has been brought to you by the blessing of Mr. Vaidi Yogeshwar Dutt, sir, Professor Yogeshwar Dutt. He is Dean of Alumni and Resources here in NITS. Vaidi sir, if you want to say a few words about alumni cells and NITS mentorship program you're working with.
Hello.
Yes, sir. We can hear you, sir. Yes, sir.
Yes. So good morning and good evening to all of you. And I'm really thankful to Mr. Deepak Jain, who has taken this initiative and introduced we people to Mr. Harpal Kochar. And then we were planning to have a session to all you people, particularly the aspirant who want to get admission in US or say abroad elsewhere. So this was the this whole idea behind organizing this particular program. And though we were planning to do this for past 2 months or so, but it could not happen due to your examination and other things. So we were expecting more students to join this program, but I am not so much enthusiastic about this program. That only how many, as I'm told that only 20 students have registered. So this number is very less, but still let's see, hope that this program goes well and then masses will be spread among the students. And if Mr. Harpalji allows us, then we'll be adding more students to this program. So thank you, Mr. Harpalji, Mr. Jain, for agreeing to our invitation. And I hope that this program is going to be a success and it will spread a good message among the students. Thank you very much.
Absolutely, Ji. Great. Deepak, do you have a couple of words to speak before we start?
Yes. So thanks a lot to Harpalji for putting in so much effort. I have known him for a long time. Harpalji and myself, we have been volunteering with a great organization called Science Group here in Silicon Valley. And Harpalji conducted college admission workshop for high school student, and that was pretty impressive. My own daughter was in that program and I have attended his sessions. So I got, pretty impressed by his work, and I connected to him with Vaidi Sharma ji in Alumni Cell, and here we are. So thank you very much, Harpalji, for putting in so much effort. And our goal is students who have aspirations to go for US for PG education, postgraduate education, and they may not be aware of various aspects. So we want to make it easy, and so that people who have desires but have no means and no guidance can benefit from this. So thank you very much. I will, Harpalji, please continue.
Great. Thank you, Deepak. Thank you, Vaidi Sharma ji. Thank you, Harry. Everybody, much appreciate everybody trying and making this session happen. We're about 14 minutes late in the session starting. Apologies from all the delays, but we'll straighten it all out. I will speak for about 35 to 38 minutes in total. My goal is keep your questions to the end. If you want to send some questions in the chat while I'm talking, that's good too. I will get all the questions and I will answer them all. If I have to stay on longer, that's fine with me. I will make sure all the questions are answered for you. Okay. The event is the session is being recorded, so you can review it later at your convenience later as well. So a little bit about my own background. I've been in the Silicon Valley for about 25 years. I graduated from a school called MGM College of Engineering in New Mumbai in India in '96. Just like many of you, I had aspirations of coming to the US, and I did not have the guts or I could not dream as far to even apply for the US admissions because I came from very humble roots, and I didn't have the audacity to ask my parents for money to go to do a master's program because I know they did not have the money. But I wish I had mentors like what I'm doing right now for you, who could have shown me a path that is not all about just money. There are very good schools. There are different ways that to come into the system here, which does not require what we would think as would be a huge sum of money, like an exorbitant amount of money. So my hope of giving back is what I did not get in 1996. I'm hoping to give back to you all. So thank you very much for giving me a chance. I've been working for different companies in the Silicon Valley, Workday, IBM, Google, Oracle. About 6 or 7 years ago, when my older daughter came to me and asked me about college admissions, I had no idea what the US admissions was about. And I was so confused. I took a class at Stanford, then I took a certification at University of California in San Diego, and pretty much learned the entire process on my own, just to teach it to her friends. And then over time, I started teaching it to a lot of people. Okay, let me mute everybody else on this. How do I mute everybody else? Okay, all right, looks like that I don't know how to do it. Okay. Should be a way for me to mute everybody else. I know there is a setting for that. Participants, yeah. Mute all, yeah. Okay, so I've muted everybody, and you all have the permission to unmute yourself when the need be on this call, okay? All right, so I run a company called Success Koach. Many of you probably have heard of it, if at all, through Vaidhi Sharma. If not, this is the URL for the company website, successkoach.com. That's my blog. That's where people reach out to me. If you need any private consultation, need to connect with me one-on-one, please go there and reach out to me, okay? I'll put the link in the chat as well. And keep the chat going, guys. If there's questions that are coming from your side, I'm very open to giving you answers soon. Okay. Now, so going into the presentation, when people think of coming to America, there are different options. Most of the time, we look at 4 options of people going abroad, and Canada, UK, Australia, all of them come upon as important destinations. But if you look at the way the American immigration system is based, I mean, most of the times people have, yes, they want to study abroad, but they also want to immigrate. The American system is not as attuned to letting people come and settle down here, while compared to Australia, UK, Canada. Yet, if you look at the statistics, America brings in a lot more students than any other country. And that has been the trend for eternity, or from the time I've seen master's and undergraduate programs. So, and there's a good reason for that. And let's delve into that, and we'll talk more of that in this presentation. Now, it's known as the #1 academic destination because the brand a US education carries is big. It's the flexibility of the curriculum. You can do a double major, a triple minor, a single major. You could, many times a college will even let you decide or create a major of your own. You don't have to go by the specific route. You don't have to go, gone are the days, like when I was in engineering back in the days, we got to take 2 electives in our entire engineering curriculum. I'm sure now things have changed, but the kind of flexibility you have in an American university, you cannot find pretty much anywhere else. The focus on research and technology, and the focus on actual academic research for cutting edge, bleeding edge companies is through the roof. And I'm sure there are many companies in India and institutions to do the same. The US system is what I'm familiar with, which is very, very much on top of that. And last but not the least is the internships and career development aspects, how your career counselors work very, very closely with you to define which careers you could get into, or even internships, paid internships, unpaid internships, all of those. There are 4,000 universities in America. You've probably heard of the names of the universities I'm calling out on the left side, like Stanford, Yale, Harvard, Johns Hopkins. You know their names mostly because those companies have marketed, these schools have marketed themselves very well to you. Okay. There are schools on the West Coast of the US, like UC Berkeley, Stanford, UC Santa Barbara. There are many good schools here. And there's some very, very good schools in the Northeast, even up in the Midwest or in the upper North side. There are some very, very good schools. Okay. But out of the 4,000 universities in the US, or universities and colleges, more than 2,000 will never even land up fulfilling an entire classroom of undergraduate or graduate level students, okay? So your goal should be really to look at not just the schools I'm showing on the left side, or even some of these amazing schools which are by the coast, but you should be looking at schools in Dakota, in South Carolina, North Carolina, even in Texas, Montana. There's some schools over here which are really good schools, which will cost you less, will give you a lot of merit scholarships, And that's one of the big focus of our discussion today is going to be to help you not only look at how to go about these schools, but to how to identify value schools, which do not charge you the full sticker price like what these schools will charge you, like the MITs and the Berkeleys will charge you. This is a list by Forbes India created about the value schools, schools that will actually, there's a ROI that you get from applying to these schools. And if you look at this list over here, there's some unique schools in this list like Georgia Tech or Urbana-Champaign, or you look at Harvey Mudd. There was College of Williams and Mary, University of Washington in Seattle, Brigham Young University in Utah. These are not names you wouldn't have heard as much, but I would urge you as a part of a process to really think about some of these schools, because this could be the difference between spending $50,000 to go to a school a year versus $30,000 to go into a school and still getting a damn good admission or a good education in the process. And that's one of the things I do is really do the fit analysis of the student of personality wise, like University of Florida, the kind of students who go there, or UCLA, the students who go there are very different from the students who will end up going to University of Illinois and Urbana-Champaign. And there's a character, there's a personality that the school is looking for. So before they reject the student, I will actually tell the student this school might not be the best one for you just by knowing the traits of those schools. Now, some of the best schools in this country are really the state universities. And we call out some of the California State University colleges, like California State Universities in East Bay, Fresno, Fullerton, the California in Long Beach, Cal State University in LA. These schools, the cost will be half the cost of what you would pay for a private school. And these are Californian schools. They're extremely good schools. Many times they don't get rated as high just because it's a state university. So have a look at these universities as well. They are part of my curriculum when I talk about it, but just wanted to call those out. Again, very similarly, top schools, you can see some of the list of like CUNY CUNY Baruch, which is a city university college in New York. It's called the Baruch College. It's really, really good school. And this would be a fraction, even less of the cost than what you would pay in a state university. You would pay to go to CUNY Baruch School, College. One of my friends, she graduated from my one batch junior to me in Mumbai University. She went to CUNY Baruch College. And now right after finishing from a community college, she went on to go to HBO. She worked there for several years, and now she's one of the top product managers at Google. So the name of the school, it's the brand of the schools is still very, very strong. So remember that as we look at some of the school names, okay? So high level agenda, what we'll go over is the different kinds of institutions that are there in the US that you can apply to, what the application process is to get you jump started, what's the target profile that people are looking for, the schools are looking for that you should think about for yourself as you apply, and then some of the personal essay strategies. We'll finally close it up with some of the upcoming workshops that Vaidi Sharmaji, myself, Deepak, and Harry have been talking about that will be made available to your team as well. So higher education in the US, there are 4 types of education you can get in America. One is the community college undergraduate program, which is really just a 2-year program. Most undergrad degrees in the US have 2 years of general studies and then 2 years of very focused major-oriented study. Community colleges actually fulfill the void where they let students who have not done very well in high school or don't have the best grades or don't have the money to go to a very expensive college or even to a state school do community college at a fraction of the cost. And we'll talk about the cost later as well. The good part of going to a community college is you get a year of optional practical training as a part of that process. So you do get a visa to stay on for another year. So if you're looking to do some ways outside of just the regular master's route, community colleges could be one way or another way of doing it. The second route is the undergraduate program, or what we call as the 4-year college program, which gets you 2.5 years of practical training, which means you get a vocational visa to work for 2 more years after that. Or you can come to a graduate or master's level professional program, which is typically 1 to 3 years in length. The MDs, the JDs, I noticed many of you are looking to do the MBA program, master's programs. Nobody looked at doing the MA program, but even for them, you get the OPT training of 2.5 years. Finally, the doctorate, postdoctorate is something which we're going to talk about, but not today. Today's focus is really just the master's program, the PG level program, or coming from an undergraduate or from a 4 years bachelor's program. The requirement change is different from a master's program to a PhD programs, where the PhD program could be much longer. It could have a paid stipend along with it, where the master's program is a little smaller and does not typically have a paid stipend as a part of it. Okay, you will get a copy of all these slides, by the way, from me as well, so you don't have to kind of screenshot or take too many notes. I will send all these slides out to everybody to look at it as well. Okay, later. The graduate program types can be many. So you don't have to, just because you did a master's in computer engineering or mechanical engineering, it doesn't preclude you from looking at a master's in arts or MA or a MS in another field. That's the beauty of the American system. There's a lot of flexibility. You might have to take some additional credits, but you will get an opportunity to do some of the other master's programs also that might come to your mind, like the doctorate in, like in this case, doctoral programs of different kinds, Doctor of Medicine, Doctor of Public Health, but there are different types of master's programs in operations, management, accounting, which again, master's, MS in health science, technology, mathematics, the MA, which is also a very, very lucrative field in the particular field of education, communications. Yeah, there definitely people get visas even through these things. There's of course the MBA that is very well known to the world as well. Here are some of the top specializations that typically people will do when they come for a master's degree. It's not a surprise that most people want to do a master's in computer science. Now, I would caution you that do not just look at master's in computer science as one area. A big mistake people do is they only apply to the computer science program. If you look at any decent school like a University of Berkeley or UWash or UIUC, which is University of Illinois, Urbana-Champaign, there are at least 5 different flavors of a computer science program, like data science, cryptography, security. There could be just information tech. There's so many different programs which have literally a 70 to 80% overlap with a CS program. CS program is a lot more competitive to get into, does not give you as much scholarships or discounts, tends to be a lot more expensive. You could get pretty much the same level of work, and you could still have the same recruiters who go into the computer science program come and get you, as long as you're in a program which is very similar. You can also jump from a similar program into that program at a later time. You just have to be a little more of the hustler kinds to get some of those things in. Okay. Top PhD programs surprises me that they're not in computer science, but this is what I found online, that business, economics, medicine, engineering. I would think a degree, a CS degree in a PhD in that would literally not only will it help you with improving your chances of getting a green card and expediting the whole process, but it's super lucrative when you come in from a PhD from any of the computer science disciplines. Okay. This tells you about the 4 programs I talked about: the community college, undergraduate college, graduate, and doctorate. You can see the cost difference. The cost difference of going to a community college, which could cost you anywhere from $14,000 a year, which will be about 2 lakhs, to 32,000, which will be about 4 to 5 lakhs, okay, a year, okay, which could be the cost of going to a community college, versus going to an undergrad or a graduate level program, or what we call as the postgraduate level programs, could be a lot more expensive. Now, this is the list price. You could still get merit scholarship. For example, my brother-in-law went to University of Arkansas, and he had a full ride scholarship because nobody wants to go to University of Arkansas, but he made it over there, got a full ride scholarship over there. So obviously he was just paying his dorm fee, and he was working as a teacher's assistant and all of those things to reduce even the paying for the dorm and stuff. So he played it pretty sharp. He didn't take any loans, nothing. He didn't even take any money from his parents to come to the US. So that was pretty cool. But that's the cost difference between any of the 4 programs. And if you have any questions for that as well, just throw it in the chat. You can get different kinds of scholarships. This is called the Fulbright Scholarship, which is open to master's programs and for PhD programs. It is something which is going on a yearly basis. This year, for whatever the year, the 2022-23 program, the Fulbright Nehru Scholarship has been suspended. But keep a lookout on this one. This is a very important scholarship. This is something which you should consider to look at, and I'll put the link for this in the chat so you can all look at it as well. But this is a good scholarship to apply for, and make sure you apply to it. It doesn't cost much to apply, but if you get in, it's really, really good for you. Now, the funding sources to come into the United States, typically we are relying on personal and family wealth to as a 60% of the utilization. So if coming to the US, you rely really on your personal contacts, when I say personal and family means whatever the bank can substitute for you as well, but that's only 60%. You could rely on the foreign government, like we talked about the Nehru and Albright scholarship, or the university itself chips in quite a bit as well. The chimes in, for example, the US College or University will chime in 33% of the cost of your education. If you go to a school which has a good general school with a good merit scholarships, you're absolutely going to get a decent program. Now, if you land up going to a Harvard or a Stanford, you'll get zilch over there. They're not going to give you any money because they have too many students clamoring to come in over there. But compared to that, if you go to a Brigham Young University or something which is not as known, they'll put you on their pedestals, their eyes, and they'll take you in over there and they'll give you a merit scholarship. Another part, some people want to know about the pros and cons of a semester system versus a trimester system, or semester versus quarter system. It's really about when are you going to pay for it. Right? Every time you have a quarter, which is 4 times a year, or trimester, which is thrice a year, it's about when do you have to make a payment, right? So some people prefer to go through a quarter system simply because then the payments are smaller, but in 4 chunks versus a semester, which is only twice a year and 2 big sums, okay? So now that I've finished that on the overall, the different kinds of universities, we'll talk about the application process, what it entails. It sounds a lot harder than really it is, but I've broken it down purely into 5 steps, the process. You start from an academic review, which is, the beginning of the process. You need to get your transcripts evaluated by somebody. You can send it to me. I can evaluate and let you know how they would do. But of course, the schools require a formal transcript evaluation. You got to take your SAT, GRE, TOEFL, SAT not for you, but GRE or TOEFL or IELTS for getting your basic, the external exams in order. Need to know your career goals, what you're going to go over. So those are things I tend to do as a counselor with my students. Create a list of, before you even start thinking about writing an essay or anything, having a target list of colleges, making a list of like 6 to 8 colleges. I know Deepak asked you for a list for 3 colleges names, but you want to have like about 6 to 7 colleges in your list, maybe even 10 that you're going to apply to. And then you break it down by what's called as reach, target, and safety. Reach is the type of school which, if the chances of getting in are not as high, but maybe in the Hail Mary situation, or maybe this year or maybe last year, if things worked out okay, you could get in. Like, it's kind of a little above your point. Your target is the school which you are fairly confident that if what happened last year in terms of selections, if this year while I am applying, if it happened, I will be able to get in because you've done enough research about that school. And then there's safety, which is a guaranteed. Like, this is a school which is under my pocket. So a decent student having maybe a 3.8 GPA in his undergrad, has a very good extracurricular activities and is looking to do a CS program. 3.8 might preclude you from a Harvard or maybe a UWash, could be more in your target. A Harvard might be more in the reach, okay? And a safety school might be a California State University. Okay? So that's how you kind of want to think about your different schools, okay? That's the target college list. Then you get into the essay review, which is really, there are 2 kinds of essays, the personal essay and the college specific essay. Personal essay targets your values, college specific and targets about why that particular school you want to go to. Those are the 2 types of essays you always have to apply for, okay? Next part is the interviews coaching. You want to get interviewed not just by, you don't want to just get ready for the interview for the visa time when the admissions or whatever the visa consulate guy is going to do the interview. But you want to be ready for an interview with professors, with alumni, with admissions committee. You want to talk to them as an international student. They want to see you as a collaborative person, as somebody who reaches out. You want to have a friend in the system. So go through a whole process to interviews coaching with them. And then finally, it's the financial planning, which involves negotiations, which involves getting merit scholarships and stuff like that with the schools. Here's your timeline, what you're going to be looking at. So your process typically is, you start in March, which is now the process, and by June, the process is in full flow. We're looking at your academics, your major reviews, you're putting your college list down, the deadlines are being put in place, and then you start working backwards from there. Then you start putting your statement of purposes, the letter of request, which will come from your college professors with the whole process, a whole format in which how you want the LORs to come through to you. And then you want to do the application review, the end-to-end review with a counselor to understand that you have all the I's dotted and T's crossed. Harder the school to get into, the I's and the T's, I's dotted and T's crossed will matter. It matters what you write, how you write about yourself. It's important you don't just make your essay or a copy of a resume. They've already seen your resume. It's important you make your personal statement not about how you were suffering in a particular grade and how you turned it around. They can see that in your transcript. So the personal essay is about your values, about something which they would not be able to see from just looking at your recommendations or from your transcript. Okay. You keep religion out of it. You don't talk politics, any of stuff in that things. Okay? And then by February, you're done. Everything's done. You have your review, your offers, scholarship loans, and then by September, you make a move. Okay. Some of the things you all will have to do, which is the external testing, the process to actually getting the external test planned, which is the IELTS versus the TOEFL test. I've actually put some dates, the costs as well for those exams for you, what they'll cost in INRs. You'll also be given the GRE, general test versus GRE subject test. I've put some comparisons between the two, what a subject, what a general test typically is looking at 3 sections in quants, verbal and analytical writing. Subject test can be mathematics, bio, chem, English, physics, or psychology. The timing is obviously much longer for the general test. It's a lot shorter for the subject test. I am told that the computer-based test, I was reading somewhere, you can actually do it in your house. You don't have to go to a center to take this exam, which is pretty cool. If that's still the case, I read somewhere that you can do that. Subject test might be paper-based, or probably if that even that's changed. This could be a little dated. I do have a presentation on GRE details as well, which I can perhaps link right here to everybody. This is a GRE presentation. I've just put it in the chat as well for you all to look at. Okay. Then the GRE cutoffs. This is, don't take it with a grain of salt. The cutoffs typically are the 75th percentile of what they have to decide between the 25th to the 75th percentile of students that they will take in the school. Those numbers tend to be publicized because that is required by law for these schools to publicize it. But that doesn't mean if you're less than there or more than that you'll get in. Exams like GRE keep you out. They don't get you into a school. They are good enough to tell you, well, if you're in this range, that you definitely should apply to these schools. If you're not in this range, don't apply because you might not get in at all. They might just throw the application out altogether because, so think of it this way, GRE does not get you in. GRE keeps you out of a school. Remember those words, okay? Okay. Now, in terms of actually looking for a college in the US, because I told you about 4,000 different colleges, the general thinking is you want to just go for the names you've heard of in the past. But I would urge you to think a lot more detailed. When I work with my undergraduate students, I go through these 12 dimensions with them in terms of academic, the climate, the prestige, what's important to you, physical location, the immigrant population over there, the geographic location, the religious and political climate of the school. A lot of these things do matter, and they do matter simply because you are going to spend less than 10 hours of your 170 hours, which you get in a week. You spend less than 10 hours in the college, in the classroom. You're spending 160 hours outside, okay? Which means the neighborhood, the kind of students who come over there, the professors, the recruiters, the ambiance in the neighborhood matters a lot. So think about all these factors when you think of putting your building your list together. I'm happy to put this list together for many of you as you need help on. Now let's talk about building a target student profile list. Okay, there are 6 components to your profile. There is the most important factor is your academics, your GRE. I've called it 67%, make it more like 60, 70%, depending upon the school. If it's a public school, that 67 could become 70%. If it's a private school, it could be 50%. Okay, like a Harvard could be 50, 55%, but then they'll give more emphasis to many other components in the framework. Okay, so think of it like this: your recommendations count quite a bit. Extracurriculars don't count as much, but still they can count to 5%. So they do want to see you as a leader who's done extracurriculars in the concept of demonstrated interest for that particular school. Okay, your essays do matter. 15% of the application is your essays. The important thing to understand is that if any of these things suffers, like for example, your GRE score suffers, or you don't have enough demonstrated interest to show, that weakest link will become the Achilles heel for your application. That will be the reason why you might not be able to get into that school. Okay, so you cannot say just because it has only a 5% weightage that you don't have to work as hard on it. That could very well be the reason, because the more selective the school, more they're going to look at all the application components. Okay, finally, now we get into the personal essay strategy that you'll apply to the different essays. How do you go about the process? Okay, I'm going to leave this slide for a minute for you all to read. Okay, but this is how a Stanford application has been sent out. This is published by the Stanford Admissions Committee. The top opening lines of or the 10 opening lines that Stanford said, this is how we receive our essays. Okay. When I was in the 8th grade, I could not read. When I traveled through a daily path of life, have you ever stumbled upon a hidden pocket of the universe? I have old hands. I was paralyzed from the waist down. Okay. He's talking about the accident he went through. Okay. I almost did not live through September 11th, 2001. Okay. What you see from this is the person behind the application. It's not what was written in the application. It's a concept of what are my values? What do I stand for? What will I die for? What will I hold, high in my life? That's what they want to know from you. So American schools are big into these the personal statement. So make sure your personal statement is well vetted by somebody. And it's not a flex match. It's not by showing up with, I did this or I did that. It's about saying a story. It's imagine like meeting a girl or a guy for the first time in a coffee shop. You're going to tell them something is exciting about you so they remember about you. And you're going to tell it in some story form, or you're going to tell something in a very vulnerable way that they remember you for, they want to meet you a second time. That's exactly what this game is about. Okay. So take it that way. Take it like you're meeting somebody for a date and you've got 650 words to make your point. Case in point, the Stanford essay, one of the big notorious Stanford essay, has a prompt called "What matters to you and why?" Think about that for a minute. They say, take 10 pages, and if you need another 2 pages, take 2 more pages, but write an essay on what matters to you and why. You could go crazy writing that. Do you have to write 10 pages? No, if you write 10 pages, you're going to be kicked out. You never write more than a page and a half maximum. So in words, you don't write more than 650 to 700 words. That's it. Okay. Nobody has the time to read 10 pages of rant. Right. So, but getting that in a concise and formal manner to make a point, showing your values, is what they're looking for in the personality you're bringing forward. This is talking about the different values. When I finish reading your essay, I'm looking for these values. Okay. You have to make sure that, or to get a litmus test of your application, you make sure that people are saying this, or if you ask them, what did you think about my application? If they say that this is what they could find out of the application, you obviously don't write the word "I'm curious" or I'm all about fairness, or I forgive people. This is what they have to imply from your story. This is what they have to walk away from what you talk about. They have to get it out of you. Okay, you don't explicitly say. If you said it, it's not going to make any point altogether. Okay. And this is how we go about. We put together the entire personal statement based on their presentation style, international student, what are some of the problems they had, achievements you're proud about, what are some of the evidence of skills you have, what do you want from the future. It's a lot of things that go into, then we take all the data points. It's literally like a 2 or 3 hour rant session the student does with us, and we do in a very formal process for that. And then we start putting a story together for the student. Okay. Every story has to be told in a format. You never just throw a story out to somebody and expect people will believe you. Okay? There is a way to tell a story. It's called the STAR format. In fact, the sooner you learn the STAR format, the better it will be for your interviews, for your college interviews, for your work interviews, for having a conversation with somebody. Okay, you start with the situation, the task, the action, and the results. Situation, you explain what the background is, what you're going to talk about, set the person up, how big the task was, how voluminous it was, how tangible it was, what action did you take, or what the team took, or what tools did you use to make it happen, and finally the results, what results were gotten out of it. When you explain a story in the STAR format, people get it. People expect you to talk in that form. People don't have time to read long stories, or maybe a story which has like, I was about to die and I was in the middle of the alligator's jaw, and then the story comes out to be something really lame. Don't tease the reader. Okay, keep it simple. That's what the people are expecting from you. Now, so there's the personal essay, and then there's the college-specific essay. Okay, college-specific essay is typically, why do you want to come to Stanford? Wow, what is it that you're going to bring to the table? How do what you do align with our mission or our values? Okay, so you're expected to speak in these 4 values. What intrigued you about the university, which means about the syllabus or about the location or something that's unique. You can't just say, oh, this university is in the Silicon Valley or it's in the US, you know, my dream college. If you can say the same thing about the same of 5 schools you're going to apply to, if it's so generic, don't even write it. So it's an insult to a university to read something like that. Okay, you always write something very specific. I know John Doe, who went to your school over here, and I actually know him because I've talked to him. I've emailed your professor to 2 of these professors, and they responded to me. You provide this unique curriculum in this particular field that I'm very interested in. That's why I want to come to your school. That's what you talk about in your uniquenesses. Second part is how will you apply what you will learn in that school? What they're trying to know is, what's your plan in the future? Is it just coming to the US, or you're going to be the alumni who's going to bring in a lot of donations for us down the line, right? It's America has one religion, that religion's color is green. And why are you uniquely qualified to come to our school, right? You have to explain what you've done in the past, what you're going to do in the future, what makes you unique, that the cohort that you'll come with, you will actually value your experiences, the difference that you bring in. So we're now to the final part of my presentation, which is the services and workshops that we will be offering over the next, depending upon the interest, we'll offer some services and workshops. These are some of my services and workshops. We will have some workshops which will be on persuasive writing. How do you write persuasively? How we can also do an application review for you if you already put up some applications. Interview preparation, coaching you to actually go through the interviews with professors, with admissions committees, with the alumni, and to put together a prioritized college list, what we call as the early action, early decision, regular decision, the stretch, target, and safety that I was talking about. I was calling it reach. You can also call it stretch, a target, and a safety. Okay. We have created this classroom for you, and this is a classroom provided. I'm going to throw the link in the chat. This is a Google Classroom created specifically for NITH teams. You can log in over here and you can see a lot of content, free content available to you, that you can see videos, content, assignments that you can work on. And if you finish the assignments and submit from there, I will evaluate them myself for you as well. Okay, so this is free content available to you right now. So in closing, my email, you can send me a note at info@successkoach.com. Let me in fact take this entire thing and put it in the okay, I have put everything that I just talked about in the chat as well. So that's really in closing, right? This is, you can reach out to me. I set up a time on my calendar for a private consultation. There's a dedicated classroom, which we just talked about. This is my phone number. You can call, reach out to me on. And but that's it. With that, I'm going to give it back to Vaidi Sharma-ji and to Harry and to Deepak. And I'm also going to open it up to questions. Anybody has questions, I'll unmute the line now for everybody to ask questions. Actually, you can unmute yourself now. So why don't I just
Thank you, Mr. Paul. Thank you very much for such a wonderful presentation. I think you have covered. Am I audible?
Anji, yes.
Sir, you are.
So I think you have covered all the aspects of this getting admission in the US. My only query is, supposing I want to get admission in this 2023 in the US. So what should I do? Right, as you have simply told us the timeline. So it starts from March itself, so this month itself.
Yeah.
So what will be my first action?
Your first action would be to get the GRE or the GMAT, whatever you're going to take, get a date for that finalized and apply, start studying for that, get that out of the way by May, June timeframe. And then you start applying for putting a college list together with me. Then we start going through the college essays for each of them. Then we apply for them. And then we apply finally for the loans or the financial process, the interviews, the visa process. And once that's all done, you come to the US.
Thank you. So this is my advice to all the students who are, logging here. So please, if you are really interested in getting admission in the US, so start thinking about your GRE exam first. Okay.
Makes sense.
Now, any other question from the audience? Please be free to ask the question.
You can ask or you can put it in the chat. I have the chat open as well, so I can look at the questions that come in the chat as well. You can send the chat directly to me also, or you can just put the chat to everybody to see. Or you can just ask questions, unmute yourself and just ask questions.
Excuse me, sir.
Please introduce yourself.
Hello, am I audible?
Yes, you are.
Yes,
Namish.
sir.
Go ahead.
So myself, Namish Agarwal. I'm a chemical engineering student. As of now, I am not planning to apply for MS, but it's my 5-year plan to pursue masters. So
Okay.
is it okay if I first gain some experience of this corporate world and then go for masters?
You know, that's a personal choice. My daughter came and asked me the same question just 2 days ago, and I told her I should go and work at Microsoft for a couple of years and then come and work, get a job, or then come back and do the master's. But it's you know, it's person to person. I think people who do well, like for example, I know my daughter struggled a lot. Like she's still a straight A student, but she's a high stress student. So she's gone through high stress for all 4 years in the undergrad time. So I wanted her to work in the, and you know, chill out for a couple of years, work, in fact, make some money, pay for her own education herself. That was my advice to her. But then there are students I've known, many of my classmates who came to the US directly after finish undergrad, but those were the students who were smoking it through. They were doing really well in, like, they were like ready. And for them, giving exams was never hard. So the sooner you can get done with academia, it's good. But for some, it's better to hold off. So the answer is very subjective. I mean, I'm happy to have this conversation with you, Namesh, you know, if you want to call me later and talk more about it. But Vaidi sir or Deepak, anybody with any perspective, please share them with them.
Great effort, great presentation, very impressive. And, you know, I have been silent, but I have been taking pictures of each screenshot and posting them on various, you know, various mentorship channels so that people get to, you know, people see it, you know, so this is in fact our first activity that we did and this is being, those pictures have been, you know, the screenshots have been broadcasted to hundreds of students. So definitely, you know, there is, you know, awareness is getting built. And see, the key point is you have covered all the key points in a very short, in a couple of minutes of presentation. So this is very impressive. And we are interested in students who are serious. And the definition of serious means you know which university you would like to apply in US and what academic program you would like to apply. वो कहते हैं ना, अगर डब्बे पे एड्रेस नहीं है तो डब्बा डेस्टिनेशन पे नहीं पहुंचेगा, पार्सल डेस्टिनेशन पे नहीं पहुंचेगा. So you have to help yourself and you should find out what type of the university in US is right for you. You have to do the research by going on the university site. Every university has academic program listed on their site and you have to see अगर मैंने मैकेनिकल में इंजीनियरिंग की है या इलेक्ट्रिकल में की है, मेरे हिसाब से सही यूनिवर्सिटी कौन सी है और सही एकेडमिक प्रोग्राम कौन सा है. So you need to know those things because it is your choice and we can only facilitate by explaining you the process, by helping you with the various steps in the process, but you have to take the first step.
Got it.
So thank you very much. And the workshop will be starting in a couple of days. We will send out the details. So please try to finalize these details and join the workshop. Thank you very much, Harpal ji.
Anybody else have any questions? Any other students have any questions? I can answer some more questions.
I have one more question, sir.
Bolo.
So other than computer science and engineering and other courses, so what is the scope of sustainability management, masters in sustainability management and in that field?
When you say sustainability management, walk me through a little bit on what kind of job prospects are we looking at afterwards? What are the career applications?
Sustainability analyst or ESG and other kind of impact analyst.
Right.
Those.
Harpal, I can take this.
Go ahead.
So this is a great field. It's a growing field. So you look at big retailers like Walmart, Amazon, they invest in sustainability. Okay. Similarly, transportation companies, there is definitely, this is a growing field, because as the public is getting aware about the impact on Earth, all the top companies, when they report their numbers to the stock market, they have started putting their sustainability related figures also, because there is a segment of investors who are willing to invest only in companies that are serious about sustainability. So if you are thinking in that direction, definitely, it's a great field, and you should definitely look for universities that are specializing around sustainability related academic programs.
Thanks, Deepak. Anybody else? Any other questions? Okay, I guess no more questions, so that's fine.
Yes, I think we can route it through another means of from emails, and if we started having workshop, we can take it from the whole masses again, the questions.
Sounds good. Great. Well, thank you, everybody. I really helped. Thank you for giving me a chance. And Harry, you can close it off, please.
Yes, thank you, Mr. Koach, for the wonderful presentation, Mr. Deepak sir, and respected YD sir. And I think we all know we will include more details about the upcoming workshop, and we will also use a very official means again to communicate the whole thing. And we will send recordings to a registered student through emails.
And I would like to add one more thing here. As part of the mentorship program, we are always looking for connectors and mavens. Okay. And we will post you the presentation. Check out the slides on connector and maven, and try to find that answer if you are a maven or a connector, and reach out to us. And I would like to, extend my thank you to Harsimran and Harry and Chitresh, and there are a lot of other team members. Most of them are from alumni cell. So thank you very much to all the students, volunteers in alumni cell. You guys are really an awesome asset, and I really appreciate that YD sir has assembled a really good team of motivated students, and it was my pleasure and humble privilege to work with you all. So thank you very much.
Okay, Ji. Great. Thank you. Thank you very much.
Thank you, everyone.
Okay, YD ji. Okay, sir.
Thank you, everyone. Thank you, dear. Thank you, Harpal. Thank you, Deepak. Deepak, I would like to talk to you. You were not picking my phone. Why?
Sir, पता है क्यों? मैं बताता हूँ.
I think this meeting is over for the students, please.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. We can wrap up the meeting and connect.
Let me talk to Deepak and Harpal ji.